I guess the first thing I wanted to comment on is that one of the cornerstones of Spinoza's ethic is the combination of two ideas. One is the fact that you don't have free will, which, Patrick just discussed. And the other is the third kind of knowledge. Because, what he leads up to is the third kind of knowledge of this determinism is one of the key factors in blessedness or peace of mind. So it's important to understand that. And I just wanted to give some examples of so we have a better idea of what the third kind of knowledge is. So I wrote a paper, which you see there, and I just thought that if I wrote it down, then I'd be, not miss anything and say everything as I intend to say it. So I'm just going to read this, and then we can discuss it afterwards.
Excuse me, Blake, can you enlarge this type so that people will be able to follow along if you're going to read it?
Yeah, is that enough?
It's a bit better, yeah.
That's a lot better, I guess.
Unfortunately, there's a cutoff, so you better revert to where you were.
Okay, well, I think I can make it bigger so that no, I can't. Let me see. How about that?
Okay, well, go ahead. It's just I'd merely mentioned that if people wanted to be able to follow the text, but use the highlighter if and maybe we'll be able to follow it that way.
Okay. Did it get bigger just now?
Yes, it did. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Is it big enough now?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So in Spinoza's Ethics, he describes three kinds of knowledge, as you've discussed. This is an area that has caused a great deal of confusion and debate. It is an area that is critical to understanding his ethics. I therefore decided to create these examples in order to help make clear what those three kinds of knowledge are. I will give two examples. The first example illustrates the three kinds of knowledge. The second example illustrates the value of the third kind of knowledge. Okay, so this is the first example. Imagine you were brought up in a far-off land that had never seen or heard of a bicycle. Therefore, you would have zero knowledge of the bicycle. Now imagine you saw for the first time someone pass you by on the bicycle. You would know that such a thing exists. You wouldn't know how it works, but again, you know it exists. This is knowledge of the first kind. So in the first kind of knowledge, you know something exists, you know about it, but you don't understand it. Then you then go to a class where you're taught about how a bicycle works. You are taught about pedaling, balancing, steering, etc. You now have a knowledge of the second kind, which is the scientific kind, an understanding of the mechanics and how the bicycle works. You finally have the opportunity to actually ride a bicycle. You get on immediately start pedaling. You watch your balance, you steer, and you try to go where you want to go. The mind is concentrating on all of these elements. So the first time you ride a bicycle, you're thinking about, oh, I got to balance, I have to keep pedaling, I have to steer, all these things are in your mind. And then after a while, your mind puts all the elements of riding the bicycle into a single idea that you learn intuitively, riding a bicycle. You no longer think about pedaling, balancing, or steering. It's all intuitive. You now know about you now think about where you want to go or what you're going to do when you get there. The actual mechanics of riding the bicycle are intuitive or automatic. You now know how to ride a bicycle from the third kind of knowledge. So that gives you an idea where it's something you don't think about. It's just part of you. It's just naturally, it's kind of like, well, let me go on with the next example because that underscores the value of it. This example makes it clear what the three kinds of knowledge are. I would like to give another example that exemplifies the value of the third kind of knowledge. Imagine someone comes up to you and slaps you on the face. Understanding the event from the first kind of knowledge, you would feel pain, get angry, and react in some way. So you wouldn't have any understanding of it. You would just, just think, hey, this guy hit me, it hurt me, and I'm going to defend myself, or I'm going to run away, or whatever you're going to do. Now, from the second kind of knowledge, which is, let's say, for example, you understand determinism. So if you truly understand determinism, you understand that there's no way that he could have not slapped you, right? So from the second kind of knowledge, in the immediate moment, you would still react in the same way as you did in the first kind of knowledge. So when someone slaps you, your immediate reaction would be to, again, defend yourself, cry out, run away, whatever. You would feel the pain, get angry, and react accordingly. However, once you had a moment to process the event and reflect on your understanding of determinism, you will realize that the event was utterly unavoidable and that the person who slapped you had no other choice. As you bring these facts to mind, your anger quickly dissipates. So, in other words, you don't stay angry because your rationalization, you begin to say, well, there was nothing you can do about it. You are now no longer angry at something that could have been different. It was just an event that you didn't expect, but was determined nevertheless. So the point is, with the second kind of knowledge, you can get past the fact that he slapped you, but not right away, because you have to then kind of concentrate on what you know and what you understand and say, yeah, I understand it couldn't have been different, so I shouldn't really be angry about it, right? Having knowledge of determinism from the third kind, while you can still react in any way you like to the slap. So in other words, you can still run away, you can still yell at him, you can still hit him back, whatever you want. You would understand immediately that the event was unavoidable. So it would just be part of you. You would intuitively know that was something that could not have been different. It's just something you're experiencing. Your anger would never arise because you understand this from the third kind of knowledge, the intuitive kind of knowledge. It would immediately, you wouldn't have to think about it because you would just immediately react as if you understood it right away. So the difference in this case, the main difference between understanding the event at the third kind of knowledge is as follows. With the first kind, you get angry, period. You're just, you know, not very wise about the situation. In the second kind, you might get angry right away, as a normal person does. But once you start thinking about it, you'll think about, well, maybe the guy, whatever, and it's a causal, it's a deterministic thing. There was no way to get to it. But from the third kind of knowledge, you can still react the same way. You can still hit the guy back, run away, yell. You can do whatever you want. But the point is, you wouldn't get angry, because the anger only comes when you think, oh, well, why would he do that? He shouldn't have done that. So remember that Spinoza's ethics is about peace of mind, happiness, blessedness, those kind of things. And that's how the understanding of determinism from the third kind of knowledge, which is intuitive, would lead to more peace of mind. So I'll open that up for questions.
Could I make a comment, Blake? Sorry, Fred, go ahead.
Absolutely.
I think, oops, Fred, just a sec. I'm asking you to unmute Fred, but okay, good.
I
Fred,
think that
go
Fred is
ahead.
unmuted now.
Yeah, go ahead, Fred.
Great examples, Blake. I really appreciate that. I just wish Spinoza had the benefit of your examples when he wrote the Ethics. Just a few simple questions. You say that when you reach the knowledge of the third kind, that you're no longer angry. I get a message that says I'm no longer talking. Can you hear me?
No,
Yes,
everything's
you can.
fine.
Yep.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
That's a tall order to say that you no longer get angry, even under the third kind of knowledge. Would it be that you just simply don't have anger at all, or that your reason allows you to recognize the inevitability of the action, and so it curbs your anger?
Well, think about it this way. I have another example which may be helpful. Imagine you have a 10-year-old son, and someone else slaps your son, and your son gets really angry because he slapped him. You wouldn't get angry because it's just kid stuff. You know what I mean? And you'd say, oh, just, stay away from him or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because you understand intuitively that it's just kids, It could become a problem, of course. I mean, you may have to take some actions, but you're not really going to get upset with the situation. It's just one of those things that happens. Does that help?
Yes, thanks. I have an example of that just this afternoon. I went to the grocery store and was buying something. I went by a father with his son, and the son was clearly emotionally disturbed, not just having a tantrum, but really seriously emotionally disturbed. And he reached out and really whacked me hard as I was walking by, and the other guy apologized profusely. And I said, "That's okay, that's fine, that's fine." You
Yeah.
know, and I didn't get angry at all, of course, because the child couldn't control himself because he had an emotional disorder. So
Right.
I'd assume that the third kind of knowledge, you have the same sort of perspective, that it's beyond their really their capability not to strike you, or maybe not capability, but it's almost inevitable that they will strike you given everything that's come up to that point.
Yeah. Great example. Great example. I like that. Thanks.
That's all. Thanks.